too easy.
So, much like my last video, where I made a karambit designed to basically be tucked under my skirt, I also wanted something else that I could carry that I also didn't need pockets for, like I would a knife. That's also, again, easy to conceal. And my mind kind of went to push daggers. I actually got the idea for push daggers before I made the karambit, but, you know, I don't always make things in the order I come up with them. So, for this, I got just a small chunk of leaf spring. You can almost see the dent from where the packs were together. But once it's heat treated, that won't be an issue. I've never made something, well, I've made one before years ago back when I was just cutting already tempered steel. So, you know, it's probably been 5 or 6 years ago. But I've never actually forged one, so this will be an interesting thing. This should be enough steel because I'm going to need to thin it down quite a bit, and this is really thick. So that should be more than plenty, I hope. So I'm going to go throw this in the forge and start hammering until I get to the shape I want. So I was able to blacksmith this as close to what I needed as I would normally would like, but sometimes that happens. But I kind of drew out my basic design, well, just onto the steel. Basically gonna have to cut this out, or probably just use an angle grinder, and then, I don't know, I'll figure something out. And then this I'm gonna grind into an actual point, because rounded tip daggers are just kind of dumb. Not that I've ever really seen any, besides like props and stage combat type ones, which aren't real weapons. And this is going to be a real weapon. So yeah, gonna grind that into a point, cut those out to where it actually fits in my hand, because that's way too wide. And yes, I don't think it's gonna take much. I think this is gonna be a pretty, well, it's a pretty simple design, so it should be a straightforward build, I hope. Okay, so now that I have the grinding done, as you can, there it goes. I ground this thinner because I'm gonna put some handle scales on it. So, as you can see, it's kind of offset. That's so it fits your handle more comfortably. With a lot of the ones that I have, it's like flat, and you kind of punch into it and it just kind of digs in unevenly. And you don't want that in your dagger. So, what I'm gonna do now is I'm gonna drill a couple 3/16 holes with the brass pins and the wood scales. And then I have to just heat treat it. It's actually been a pretty quick build, all things considered. Okay, after holes are drilled, which I just realized I forgot to film, I traced out my handle on this piece of wood. I'm gonna cut out 2 of these, and I'm gonna drill holes through that, so that way they stay in place. I got my pins fitted. I accidentally split the wood here. It's oak, it happens. But once I glue everything together, I'll also make sure I put some wood glue in there, clamp it that direction so it shouldn't be an issue. But now before I go and really glue it on, I'm gonna give it a little more shape with my belt sander just to kind of speed up the process later. Okay, now I got that pretty close. And before I go ahead and epoxy it in place, which you can just use some JB Weld, that seemed to work pretty well on my last one, and hopefully I can fix up that crack a little bit. But I'm going to take the scales off and heat treat this. So I kind of forgot to film gluing that on, but basically I just put JB Weld on both sides as well as in the pins that put them in. So nothing really too exciting. But now I'm gonna get this shapes to where it actually fits in hand comfortably. Although I'm not gonna lie, that actually doesn't feel too bad. But since I forgot to get heavy grit sanding belts for my belt sander, I'm gonna have to use a flap disc because I do not want to file that down by hand. we go. Okay, so after a bit of linseed oil and burning, which, yeah, I actually think I filmed that. That was the burning part. I also, made a nice Kydex sheath so I can carry this, but I get this off with one hand. Okay then. But yeah, I got a nice blade. It's decently sharp. I mean, I haven't went and actually really sharpened it, but I will. Just, yeah, fits well in hand, and, yeah. It's a push dagger. Pretty straightforward. And off to work on my next project.